how we're at, when we're at, all that stuff. And what it does is a couple of things happen. One, you get so stressed out to the point that you have to withdraw back. And I mean you, I'm talking about myself. But other people as well. I've seen it happen with many people. Many good activists say, I can't do this, I won't do this, I'm out. And they leave. They leave the movement. They leave everything that they're doing. They go. And we lose them. And they never come back. Because what they associate with organizing and being an activist and being involved in a union or any progressive cause is, whew, they don't call it camaraderie. It's just a bunch of tasks, and it's very thankless, and it's long, and it's not fun. In fact, that's what I was told when I first got into labor organizing was, it's not thankless, it's not fun. Basically, the person that was telling me this was trying to tell me how hard the world was, but what they didn't tell me was that they were suffering from that themselves. So, let's give an everyday dynamic of what I'm talking about. I gave a very big brush examples, but let's assume that, and I'm trying to have this be certainly towards my coworkers or folks who have to organize a lot of projects at once within a union environment. But this can also be towards rank and file people. This can be towards this issue can be towards some of our fellow CWA members who are techs and that sort of thing, because it doesn't matter. But imagine you show up to your work Monday morning. Now, you've already coming into the day on Monday with a list of things that you need to get done. Had a weekend, come in, you got stuff. Okay. You come into the Monday morning meeting, and suddenly you're being tasked with 3 or 4 or 5 more items that just add to that list. So you have a list of maybe 10, 12 things that you got to get done. Now, here you are in this situation where you've just taken on more tasks. And you happen to be in a part of town later that day. Maybe you're out and about, or maybe it's at your job site. But basically a friend rings up and says, hey, I'm going to be by for lunch. You want to get lunch? And here you've just added 5 new tasks or 5 new situations. We'll talk about that in a minute. And your friend wants to have lunch. And you have to suddenly think, well, do I want to have lunch or not? Now, most of us are going to make that decision based upon how well we like that person. We're going to make that decision based upon any number of things. But how often do we make that decision based also on, I got a lot of stuff going on? So in this situation where you've come out of this team meeting, you've got all this full thing on your plate, you're now making a value-based decision. Now let's assume that, and we've all been here, let's assume that you end up wanting to work or you have other things you got to take care of on your lunch on that day. So you say, you know what? I can't do lunch. Oh, that's cool. I was going to talk about the weekend trip that I wanted to do, and I wanted to see if you wanted to come part of it, your friend says. So now you've had a 6th thing come in that you've got to respond to. And it layers up. And so now you as a human being, within a morning, have now added on 6 new different commitments that have come in place. And you haven't had any chance to in any way process them. So you start making decisions very quickly. Well, I don't have capacity. I can't do it. Yeah, I'd love to go this weekend, but man, oh boy, I'm really behind. Or I got something else to do. Or, hey, you know what? I'm going to go this weekend. Yeah, I'm down for it. It's going to be a great time. I'm going to neglect these other things that have come up. Human beings, during our time on a day-to-day basis, we don't realize it, but when we wake up in the morning, time we go to sleep, we have offers to participate in probably anywhere, I'm just going to ballpark, from 5 to 10 different things that we could be part of during the day. And the whole point of this podcast, of this Mind Like Water podcast, is to, instead of trying to evaluate it based on some mystical notion of free time or different things, that you have an actual system in place. You can go, hey, I can engage with you on this question. I can engage and I know what I can commit to, what I can't. because I know what I'm not doing. I know where that's at, and I know where I'm at in all of space and time, so I can be present with you to give you an answer on how to make this work. So instead of saying no because I don't have capacity, you're saying yes. Or you're saying no for a very real reason. You're saying no because of a number of things that could be going on. But you're making a decision not based upon stress. And that, when we talk about this concept of becoming stress-free, is the heart of the matter. Being organized and having your situation put together and having some sort of understand what it is you're trying to accomplish means that you can organize others. So so I hope that makes sense. Is that basically the number one contributor in my view of the world of what contributes to stress is I know I need to be doing something. I know I need to be analyzing something. I know that there's something that I'm not tracking. And this is a very major part. And I don't have the system, or I don't have some sort of way of making an analytical decision on the issue, putting it in its correct time and space so that I can have a free mind. So that's the general path that we want to get to. That's where we're going with all this, folks, is that we're going to a place that you can be active and engaged. If you come with me on this journey, that you can be active and engaged with people, not be stressed. That doesn't mean you won't feel stress. That doesn't mean, when I say becoming stress-free, you don't want to become stress-free. That's not the issue. You want the good type of stress. And what I mean by the good type of stress, I mean like a basketball player, the last 3 minutes of a game, 2-point game, and you're really engaged, and you're not thinking about bills. You're not thinking about what people are doing in the stands. You're thinking about, how do I put that basketball in the hoop to win the game? 2 hours before a report is due, or you gotta get this project done at a certain point. Oh boy, I am fully engaged and committed. That's good stress. When you are fully engaged, you're not thinking about spouses. You're not thinking about the bills that need to be paid. You're not thinking about this, that, or the other thing until it is time to think about those things. So that is a good, healthy stress, which is I am present, I am here, I have what's in front of me, and I'm able to engage. But I'm able to engage fully because I know I'm not neglecting something else. And that's going to be really the whole course of these little podcast episodes. So I'm going to finish this podcast out by talking about two pieces and two items here. The first item is stuff. Okay. Part of what we have to do to become stress-free and be able to manage ourselves, manage our jobs better, all that stuff, is understand that you, for instance, let's say you have a birthday party you need to go to. I have a daughter's birthday party. Okay. I need to plan it. I need to do all those things, which, by the way, part of this we will get to. I know what that is. A little bit. When I say my daughter's birthday party, the apple of my eye, the child, blah, blah, blah. However, when I say daughter's birthday party, what I'm not encapsulating is all the various tasks and other things that are attached with that. But when it's just daughter's birthday party, it's just stuff. It doesn't mean anything until we put all the planning down, until we do all the stuff that we need to do to take it from being stuff that's out there in the ether, that's out there beyond what I've done in my brain, and turned it into a plan, turn it into a plan with some very immediate next steps that can be done. Now, if that doesn't sound super enticing, it sounds like, duh, so what? We're going to get into where this process can become, where the process for most folks, and I would include myself before I learned this philosophy, where it gets bungled up and where it gets really tight and gets really hard to be productive. But I wanted to talk about stuff because that's huge. So you're going to hear me oftentimes talk about stuff. And what I'm talking about is undefined things that are coming at us, things that are on our mind and psyche that we haven't put time into thinking about. Now, I shouldn't say time. I should say brain power into it. Because we need to give ourselves time to think, give ourselves space to put brain power into our things that we're doing so that we get better outcomes. So when I talk about this piece, let's come back to stuff here. When I talk about stuff, what we try to do, what this whole philosophy is about, is if it's on your brain, it's stuff. If it's on your brain and you don't know what to do with it, you're not even really sure what it is. You haven't kind of put any detail to it, but yet it's bugging you. Like the waking up at 3 a.m, I forgot the milk, or oh boy, that I should have said this, or oh boy, I'm really nervous about tomorrow's meeting, or whatever. That is stuff on the brain that doesn't belong there. It says that you haven't closed that loop, you haven't got out there. So it's basically, if you want to think about this, it's a system, the Get Things Done system that David Allen puts forward is a 3-step system. Step 1 is stuff undefined. It's undefined, but it's on my brain, which is part of step 2, the stuff on my brain. So I'm thinking about all these things. Now, your brain is a wonderful system, but your brain can track at any given time 4 things at once. It can track 4 things at once. And frankly, I'm stunned that it can even do that many. But it can track about 4 things at once. So going from your brain, but we need to get out of your brain. You don't want it to stay in your brain. And most people, it stays in their brain. And even with good organizers, it stays in their brain because they've got so much on the calendar. And this is the last part. They look at their calendar and they're like, oh God, I got so many things to do and it's all on my calendar. I don't even want to think about this thing that's bugging the hell out of me. I don't even want to prioritize it or think about it or put time to it. So, but that process is taking it from this undefined stuff, understand, recognizing in your brain and being able to detail what the heck you're talking about. Oh, I got this thing that I love my kid so much. Her birthday's coming up. Oh, what is it? It's her birthday. Now it's in my brain. Now I got to get it onto paper and organize it somehow. Okay. Get that into paper, get that into my methodology or my system. Run it through the process so I know what's the most immediate thing. Because guess what? If I say my daughter's birthday party, that doesn't mean anything. Even as I've gone through the process, it means nothing until I know what's the next logical step that I need to do. What's the next basic step? So this is a broad overview of how to become stress-free, because here's what the human brain does. Just in the same way that the human brain will wake you up at 3 a.m, or you'll feel stressed, or you know that you're not on top of your game, you're not holding stuff. Just in the same way that your brain can feel that level of stress, your brain also, once the loop is connected and you know what you need to do for whatever project you're working on, it closes down so you can sleep at night. The open loop is closed. You're not thinking about it. You're not engaged. You're working perfect. Which frees you up, which suddenly you have capacity because you have a plan. You know what you're going to do. So this podcast is all about that piece. Now I'm going to finish with this, which is the topic of projects. I've thrown the word projects around a lot. Anything that requires more than 2 tasks than the get things done mentality is a project. And I'll just even spoil it even further, at least my view of the world of how I do things. Everything's practically a project. That's okay. Going to the grocery store to go get food for the day or whatever. That's a project. What do I need to do? I need to get my keys. I need to blah, blah, blah. So as we go forward, we're going to talk about those type of things, because guess what? Your hopes and dreams and everything you want to do and become as a human being, and how to support the folks that you care about in this movement, and how to make great situations, it isn't that far off from planning a grocery trip. It's all one and the same in a lot of ways. So we're going to talk about that in future podcasts, but I'm going to use nomenclature that I want to really introduce to you is stuff and projects, because I'm going to talk about that a lot, and I want you to have that understanding of how I'm describing it. Again, recognize that we come from different backgrounds. Stuff is everything I haven't defined yet, haven't figured it out. Projects is the next basic thing of organizing, grouping. I'm going to take you through that in the next podcast, and we'll get to specificity on that exact process, but I wanted to highlight that here. So thanks for listening. Next podcast up, we're going to talk a little bit more in detail about this.